another extremely exciting SEC game. Not extremely exciting, but a huge noteworthy game, we'll say to least, is Georgia and Texas. And both these teams faced off in Athens at 7:30 on Saturday. And the score was 35-10. The game did not feel 35-10. At the end of the third quarter, the score was 14-10 Georgia. And that speaks to how Texas stayed in the game. It speaks to how Georgia pulled away at the end. Texas can't close a game, clearly. It's funny enough because we've seen them be a huge fourth quarter team in a lot of these games, especially against Mississippi State. Maybe not the Vanderbilt game. They got outscored 21-0. But Texas really stayed in there, and it didn't look like a very poor effort until the onside kick. Gunnar Stockton had a phenomenal game. He had 5 total touchdowns. He had 4 through the air and 1 on the ground. He looks like a true, like an NFL-ready quarterback. I'm still going to stick to what I said a few weeks ago. If he waits another year, doesn't enter the draft, he'll be the number 1 pick next year. Without a doubt, him and Simpson will be battling it out, and it'll be a great, exciting QB battle because we haven't had that many great quarterbacks this year besides Mendoza. But I think that's going to be a really, really promising NFL talent coming out of Athens. He also didn't really have a favorite receiver. He had 6 receivers, all with 20 yards, and none more than 60 yards. So Gunnar Stockton knows how to spread the ball, and Georgia knows how to breed athletes that can catch the ball. It's a bit of a balance with both. I think he had around 250 yards, but still, 4 touchdowns. Incredible day. I think he did have 1 pick, though. Arch, on the other side of the ball, the other quarterback, I don't think he was that bad, to be honest. It seemed like he wasn't really comfortable. Georgia defense really rushed him. The play calling was god-awful. It looks like they're trying to kill him. I don't know what's going on with that Texas play calling, but there was, at one point in the game, it was 3rd and 14, and this is when the game was still close, and they ran a QB draw, and he got popped. What are we doing with that? Come on. It's not a throwaway down. 3rd and 14, it's not likely, but it's still manageable, and you completely throw it away, and you're getting your most prized possession absolutely pummeled. Like, come on. Bring out the Randy Moss. Come on, man. Like, what are we doing? It's just, it's so frustrating because he does show glimpses of talent. In the first 2 quarters, he led a lot of promising drives. One ended up with an unfortunate pick. Should have been pass interference. It really wasn't a question. But then in the beginning of the third quarter, when he leads the drive to score the touchdown, the only one they scored, he looked really good. And I think there are signs of him growing as a potential prospect. Obviously not this year. Once again, we're going to push it back next year because he made it clear that he was going to stay, but also he's just not NFL ready yet. So really frustrating to see that happen from the Texas room. But I think he's showing signs of promise, especially after that Ohio State disaster in week 1. He threw a couple bad picks, didn't really look comfortable. But I swear to God, the O-line was playing against them. Like, that O-line was buns. And there were a couple of really interesting stats from the first half with Texas. Texas was 0 for 6 in the first half on 3rd down. You're not going to win a game, especially when your defense is keeping you in it. And you have a couple of promising drives. You can't win games. You can't score points if you don't pick up any 3rd downs. It's not a good formula. And it really sucks because they do show promise. The defense did keep them in the game for a while, and the offense just didn't show any signs of being competitive. But for every prop that I'm going to give Texas, and I know I'm giving them probably more credit than what's due, but Georgia deserves 10 times more. The offense looks super efficient. That red zone offense looks incredible. The defense looks punishing. I barely saw any missed tackles. There were a couple of busted coverages, but they seemed like they bounced back pretty quickly. The defensive line, as always with Georgia, are friggin' dogs. They're dogs, literally and figuratively. They look like animals. They didn't give Arch any time. They always looked rushed. There were a couple of blocking assignments with the running back. I forget his name, but they just made him look super uncomfortable, and they just completely outworked the Texas offense. But this game really took a turn on its head when it became 21-10. Not because of the touchdown, because of what happened after. And Georgia lined up for, obviously, kickoff. They went with an onside kick. And even it seemed like Sark and the Texas special teams kind of prepped for it. They had a lot of people on the 45-yard line. And somehow, Georgia still executes a flawless onside kick. And I think, even if Texas planned for it, the way that Georgia executed it, just like hats off to them, hats off to Kirby. That was a really, really gutsy decision. I didn't think he would have the guts to do that because it didn't seem necessary. They were up 2 scores and were kind of controlling the tempo of the game. But props to him. And it honestly feels like Steve Sarkisian cannot do anything to beat Georgia. He will always get outcoached, outclassed, outworked by this Georgia team. It's 3 times in 2 years that we've seen Georgia beat Texas. 2 last year, with one being in the SEC championship, and now we see the 3rd one here. I don't think they can do anything about it. It's just like kryptonite. Sark can work his ass off. He can coach a team, but he can't beat Georgia. And I don't think they'll be able to for a while. I don't think they'll play each other because of the rotation scheduling. But maybe we'll see them in the playoffs or an SEC championship sometime soon. I don't think Sark can do it. It just seems like Kirby has his number. Everything Sark does, Kirby just preps 10 times more. So I don't really think it's on Sark. I just think, like, in the same way that Alabama owns Georgia, we're going to see Kirby owning Sark for a really long time in the future. It's going to be a fun rivalry, but it looks pretty one-sided for now. The implications of this game are pretty severe for Texas. They're out of the playoffs. Even if they beat A&M, they play Arkansas this week, so that should be a free win. Even if they beat A&M, they'll still have 3 losses. A&M will have 1. There will be a couple teams with 2 losses. They're going to need a lot of help elsewhere. They have to hope that Vanderbilt loses to Tennessee so they can have a head-to-head tiebreaker, because Vanderbilt's 8-2, while now Texas 7-3. So that's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. Texas, a disappointing season after a great playoff run last year. I know they got a little bit of luck with the draw and lucky in that game against Arizona State, but they did make it to the semifinals and were 1 yard away from tying it up with Ohio State with 2 minutes to go or whatever it was. So I think that it's definitely a regression. It doesn't feel as bad. Granted, they did lose to Florida. Florida's 3-7. Now we kind of talked about earlier, like, oh, it's like kind of an okay loss. Like, it's whatever. Like, playing at the Swamp is hard. Not this year. We've seen that Florida's a train wreck, and it's going to be a horrible loss, and it's going to prevent them from playing for a shot at the playoffs. If they were 8-2 right now instead of 7-3, they could beat A&M and be with like a top 8 team. They could even host a game. But they're not anymore. And it's kind of disappointing to see how it played out. But that's how it works. You want to schedule these hard games, you got to win them. Props to them for scheduling Ohio State. That's not an easy game at all. But you got to win these games if you want a chance to compete for a championship. They didn't do that, and tough luck. They're probably going to be in the Elite Quest Bowl now. It's funny how that's the best bowl for an SEC team. We saw Alabama lose to Michigan in there last year after they missed the playoffs. We're going to see them there now. For Georgia, they've solidified themselves as a college football, like they're going to, as a team in the college football playoffs. They should have a bye. Right now they're ranked number 4. I think that's perfectly accurate. And they play Charlotte this week, and that's obviously if they're going to win by 50 or whatever it is. And even if they lose to Georgia Tech next week or in 2 weeks, they'll still be in the playoffs. They'll drop. They'll probably play an away game, but their resume is strong enough. They have enough quality wins. Their losses will be quality as well, because clearly now we evaluate teams based on their losses more than their wins. Great job, CFP committee. Absolutely fucking genius system right there. But I think that Georgia's now, and you can't really argue it, that they're a top 4 team